Thanks for joining us as we once again take a few minutes to address the most frequently asked questions that are raised during live seminars. Paul, during the seminar session, you spoke of the sin which so easily entangles us, which is a quote from Hebrews 12:1. What did you have in mind when you used that quote?
That sin actually has an advantage over us and will likely prevail if we give it the chance. Sin can easily entangle us because it is alive and operative in our bodies. We covered this in session 2 when we discussed Romans 7. We should never forget that we are not only indwelt by the Holy Spirit, but we are also indwelt by sin. Hence we have the well-known Galatians 5:17 battle between our sinful desires and the desires of the Holy Spirit. The good news, however, is that God wins this battle because his power released in doing good sanctifies the believer, as we'll discover in our next session. Thus, righteousness replaces lawlessness, good overcomes evil, and God's will supplants sinful desires.
You also quoted Ephesians 5:16 and 17 in the seminar session. Some folks may be wondering why you stopped there and didn't go on to verse 18, especially since it says not to get drunk with wine.
Well, perhaps I should have, so I'll comment on those last two verses now. Verses 17 and 18 say, "So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And do not get drunk with wine, for that is dissipation, but be filled with the Spirit." Now, in order to appreciate what it means to be filled with the Spirit, it is first necessary to appreciate what it means to be drunk with wine. Many of our students won't have too much trouble understanding that. But when a person's drunk, they do not act as they otherwise would. They act differently. They act drunk. When a person is drunk, we say that this person is under the influence. Being under the influence of alcohol has caused this person to act in a way that is very different than he would without being drunk. We need to come under the influence of the Holy Spirit. Instead of being drunk with wine, which only causes us to waste away, dissipation, we are to be intoxicated with the Holy Spirit and thereby have our behavior governed by his influence. Drinking in the Spirit involves consuming ourselves with the things of God. So once again, it's what we do that counts, and what we do determines under whose influence we are operating. Under whose influence we are operating determines whether we live in freedom or in bondage. Taking the passage as a whole, verses 15 through 18, I would say that the best way to make the most of my time is to understand what the will of the Lord is and to walk in it.
Thank you, Paul, for answering these questions and taking the time to address what may be on the minds of some of our students and viewers. Thanks for dropping in for this episode of FAQs. We look forward to seeing you again in Session 6.